Hello world, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to BeemStream. So I actually want to start this series that I'm gonna work on during my time on this series of what we know today to be RESTful APIs and how they interact with the distributed world in software development. So what I'm thinking of doing is to evaluate different stacks across different languages of developing RESTful APIs. And so before kind of moving on to that, I just wanted to go over what we think about when we say or when we think of RESTful APIs, right? Typically, the typical flow for what we see today in a RESTful API is the following processes, right? We see a model validation of some sort, and then from that point, there might be some custom validation based on external data, or maybe there's custom validation based on an attribute not being present, and so on and so on. And then after that, it's to process the request in some way, whether it's to kind of get it up to scratch with how it needs to be formatted, or sort of mangled into a different format that's ready for a database. And even before that, if it's a middleware sort of service, it might call an external endpoint. Whether it's an internal endpoint within the company or it's an external public API that it would consume in a middleware service, that can also happen. And then finally we get up to storing it into the database and to have or handle any validations to do with any of the errors with the databases, right? You get the record back, and then after that you reformat the result according to what response you want to give the consumer. So this is sort of a very stripped down, very typical flow of a RESTful API. And in the technology stacks that I want to go over, that I want to learn as well, to learn as part of the process of, doing this video series, is I will be going over, for example, the request and response conventions within the framework, the logging, whether that's down to the language or maybe there's a logging framework within the technology stack, how validation is handled, whether the model validation is already native to the language. Like for example, in Spring Java, you have this concept of models, and you annotate the models to be, configurable, and you have native validation of models, right? I want to go over sort of the error handling within frameworks, how errors are sort of gracefully handled, or if not, they are or not. How external requests are going to be handled as well, whether that's convention by the framework or convention by the language. How can we handle asynchronous requests, right? And lastly, I want to go over how easy something, or how easy classes or functions it is able to be tested, because testing is of course an important part of the software development cycle. So that is what I want to be able to give information about when it comes to REST API sort of framework / libraries. So moving on, I want to go over the kind of frameworks or stacks that I'll be going over, that I'll be learning as I go along. So the list that I have is what I will be making a separate video. Each video will have its own framework and stack. And then we evaluate all of those features that I've said before with each of them, right? These are in no particular order. so I may just do whatever I feel like. And this is certainly not the final list either. This is just what I've thought of off the top of my head, and I'm excited to get that started as well. I think a few things to note, alongside evaluating all of the features that I've previously said, there will be final sort of evaluations, conclusions, about why I would choose this framework, or maybe why this framework is pretty good. And to be honest, I don't want to come to a conclusion where I say X is better than Y or Y is better than Z. It's about if what I wanted to accomplish within the project that I will create for each of these frameworks, can it be done? Was it done in a clean and elegant way? I want to make those evaluations for those REST API frameworks. And how I'm going to do that, especially with frameworks, is how many out-of-the-box features can I get out of the framework? Can I get model validations straight from, for example, Spring? I know I can. Can I get configuration to the error handling for, very edge cases, sort of JSON invalid formats? Can I get those off the bat? Can I also generate tests quite easily? Is that also out of the box? So that's with the out of box features. The next thing that I want to evaluate is the test suite runs. What I mean by that is I will have a test suite run on every framework just to make sure that each project that I create is the same and it expects the same behavior, which I will run for all of the frameworks and stacks that I work on. Alongside that, of course, it's quite important, is the performance load testing that I will do with the framework. And lastly, how much boilerplate does it take to have this very specific API that I want to create? I've been banging on a lot about what I'm going to do. I just want to stress, for all of the frameworks like / technologies, I want to have the same API for all of them. And then from that API, I can create a test suite run. And that test suite run is the only thing that's going to be the same. If I run them across all of the projects that I create across the different stacks, I expect them to be the same. So from there, I hope I would be able to give enough information over your decision, over what you would find useful and what technology stacks is the one for you. So I'm very excited to get this, the series started. This is the intro to it. I wanted to start off by introducing what I want to do, and this is it. So thanks for watching. Please stay tuned for more. This is going to take me a bit of time, but I want to do this right. So if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.